This is Dr. David Shine, and welcome to Business Law 101.
A major accident has had an impact on the international commerce. Of course, I'm referring to the collision of the ship named Dolly with key supporting structure for the Francis Scott Key Bridge near Baltimore in March. A major part of the bridge collapsed, sadly killing 6 workers who were on the bridge at the time. Fortunately, bridge traffic was stopped in time to avoid more deaths and injuries. 2 workers were rescued. My understanding is the ship had just loaded at the port and was heading out of the harbor late at night when the power plant failed completely. Ships do not have brakes, especially when they're without power. So after losing power, it plowed into a key supporting structure for the famous bridge. Over a month later, the cargo ship was still sitting in the harbor with part of the bridge wrapped around it. The Dowley is owned by Singapore company Grace Ocean Private Limited and is managed by Synergy Marine Group. The Danish shipping company that chartered the vessel, Maersk, is also potentially on the hook. In a fascinating move by the owner and manager, attorneys have filed in Baltimore federal court to be held to be free of blame. That law dates back to 1851 and was invoked no less than for the wreck of the Titanic in 1912. It limits damage to the value of the ship, which might be some millions of dollars, not the billions that have probably been lost here. This is an interesting demonstration of chutzpah, if nothing else. The Port of Baltimore is a major port. The U.S. Navy has provided cranes and channels and has partially cleared it. They're also clearing or creating a new channel. Each day, the loss of business is in the millions of dollars. Equally important is the role of the 1.5 mile long bridge itself. I have personally traversed this bridge, and it is a major link between the important greater DC area and Maryland, Delaware, and Virginia's eastern shore. The loss of this bridge for up to 2 years will cause major economic losses and many hours of traffic issues and delays. Not a good situation, folks. The shipping company is insured by Britannia Protection and Indemnity Club. Britannia is one of a dozen marine insurance member clubs under the International Group of P&I Clubs, a consortium that provides marine liability coverage for 90% of ocean freight. It pools liability claims among the members. We do not yet know how this coverage will apply here. As an example, when the Costa Concordia cruise ship was grounded off Italy a decade ago, the insurance payout was $1.2 billion. I have heard estimates as high as $3.0 billion for the Francis Scott Key Bridge crash, with rebuilding the bridge alone at $1.2 billion. Biden pledged full federal support for rebuilding the bridge the same day as the crash. That does not mean the feds will pay for it ultimately. The concept is to get the bridge replaced quickly, worry about who will pay for it later. Speaking as a taxpayer, hopefully that money will be returned. Of course, rebuilding the bridge does not cover the loss of those 6 individuals, and that is going to be a very difficult situation to determine how personal injury claims will be handled under this complex situation. One potential defense for the shipping company is something called comparative negligence. That is where fault is allocated among the various parties in a lawsuit. I am not an architect or an engineer, but it does seem that such a substantial amount of bridge damage with the one collision with the one supporting thing should not have happened. And I am very concerned about that. That support should have also had a pier or some protection in front of it or around it, so that if a ship like this one had plowed into it, it hit something before it actually hit the bridge support. So it all remains to be seen, folks, but it's very interesting business case for sure.
This is Dr. David D. Shine for Business Law 101. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on your favorite platform.